So what you're mentioning is that because of the development, so the rivers are not doing what they used to do.
What they're doing naturally, yeah.
They would do. Can you explain that more?
Yeah, well, we used to have creeks that used to run through San Clemente that would naturally replenish the beaches. We used to have creeks that would move the sand because a lot of the area in this area of Orange County is sand below the Capistrano hardpack. But when you build houses and you build communities throughout Orange County, you cement all and you pave the streets, and even in San Clemente, we don't have any natural creeks running through it anymore. We have nothing but paved roads and cement structures that moves some of the water. So we don't get any natural replenishment, and that natural replenishment is essential for our beaches.
So the sand is getting washed over time from the beach into the ocean.
Yeah,
Is that what's
yeah,
happening?
that's what happens, yeah.
And when you guys put rocks in front of the sand, does that help it?
It keeps the big waves from hitting the tracks. But our theory, and what we know and what we've been told by experts from the University of California, Irvine, is that if we had a beach in front of those rocks, that would cause the breaks to be so much further out, even 100 feet, 200 feet out, so they wouldn't break against the rocks. The rocks, unfortunately, scour the sand and they drag the sand out to sea. It's just because of the weight of the rocks. The concept is that, like, if you stand in the waves and you just stand there and you move your feet a little bit with your weight, you'll see the sand move out from underneath your feet and you'll start sinking. It's the same with the rocks. The rocks have so much pressure on the sand that the sand around it just moves out to sea. And that's one of the problems with just having revetment. That's why we need a natural beach in front of that revetment to further protect those infrastructure.
Now, what's the impact of these beaches on your city? You mentioned 75%. Yeah. What's the impact?
Well, the impact is significant. If you lose your beaches, you lose tourism. Orange County is a tourist destination for the world, actually. They come here to Disneyland, but they also come to the beaches. And in our case, our businesses there lose. But in addition to that, the property values in a beach community are significantly higher. So the value of housing in San Clemente is probably about 30% higher than somewhere outside of a beach community, just because of the fact that you have a beach. So having a beach community is good for commerce, it's good for entertainment, and it's good for the residents of the community.
You have a rail track
Yes.
going through your city, and you had some erosion that caused the rail track to stop, the trains to stop functioning, right?
The rail tracks, which have been there for forever in San Clemente, run along the beach and below the bluffs. So we've had some bluffs that are eroding, and we've also lost the beach that protects the rail tracks. So the rails are important to commerce in California. They're also the connection point for national security protection because we have a base south of us, a Marine Corps base, and those tracks are essential to movement of troops and other activities, so products if we ever needed it. But it's also a movement of employees that have to get from LA to San Diego and vice versa.
And they were closed for some amount of time. Can you tell us what happened and how long?
Yeah, the tracks we estimate were closed for about 300 days over the past several years. And that's expensive because the track closure, as we understand it, costs about $1 million a day.
And your community, you guys had to red tag some homes, right?
We did. There's several for two reasons. One, we had a fault line that fell because when you have so much water coming up against those tracks, it saturates underneath those tracks and underneath those rocks. And then that moved what we believe some of the area where there was a natural predisposed to break up there. Also the bluffs, when the water gets underneath the tracks, it also affects the stability of the...
And the homes are on top of, a lot of these homes are on top of these bluffs, right?
A lot of the homes, all along the coastline, they're on top of bluffs in San Clemente. We're at Cypress Shores right now. It's an area where the tracks were closed for several months also. They had to put riffraff there, rocks, in order to protect this whole area because this whole area was slipping. So all this was a parking lot that just fell. And
Oh, so this part fell.
all this fell.
This is like 17 or so parking spots.
Wow.
And it just collapsed. Now you can see what they've
Collapsed
done.
down there, right?
Yeah, you can see what the railroad has done is they have just put rocks. That used to be a big beach. There is no more beach in that area.
All right, I'll have to show you how you do it.
If you're brave enough.
Oh, so this whole thing fell.
Yeah.
Be careful and don't step on it right there. You just step on it, keep your foot up here.
Okay.
And just swing. Now swing your foot over onto the heavy part. There you go. You got it.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
So the beach used to go out.
Oh,
and
yeah.
now the beach is gone.
It's gone. It's on the rocks now.
And this fell. This parking lot fell into the.
It dropped down about 6 feet.
Yeah. And part of that, in theory, the experts tell us, is that when you have the water coming underneath, it saturates, and then the weight just makes it collapse. That's why it's important to have a beach, because you have a beach, the water doesn't come and saturate, it stays out a ways.
And are these homes kind of under pressure or red tagged, or they're?
The house right here where you see that kind of rusted roof, that's the house that has to get taken down.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. She gets to keep the main house, which is what they're going to remodel, but this house here has to come down. And then they'll find out. And then this lot here where the tractors, that's another home lot that was never built on.
This is low tide because in high
comes out
tide,
here?
watch your head.
Oh, okay.
In high tide, the
See
water.
where the handle is? This is where you would normally hold on to walk through here. That's
Wow.
how the sand is in here.
Because the sand is pushed.
Right.
So you could take a look over here.
So this is where you had volleyball courts before,
Right
right?
in there, yeah. And she can show
How
you.
long ago was it?
This was 3 years ago.
You had volleyball courts here.
Volleyball courts right there, yeah. The other problem you see, this is a real problem with the revetment that they put down, is that if you've ever stood in water in the rocks, or just stood there and you stand in the sand, the pressure will bring all the sand out. You know, you
creates
touch
more
it,
pressure.
it creates more pressure and it throws the sand out. So it
So this
protects
kind
the
of
tracks.
rocks doesn't help.
It helps protect the tracks, but it also takes away all the sand. That project is an OCTA because the OCTA came and put all these rocks here in order to protect their tracks. And the California Coastal Commission has said, okay, this is fine on an emergency basis, but you have to restore the beach to the condition that it was originally. And so that's part of their remediation. They have to, and we're working with them to figure out a plan to restore the beaches and how much it will be and when it will take place. And we're hoping it'll happen soon.